Welcome to One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I'm your host, Dr. P, Dr. Wayne Pernell, your host, your guide, and your coach on this journey. Today, I've got a super special guest. I met him a little while ago and was fascinated with his integration of healthcare and technology. Nick Yaitsky's background includes being a chief AI officer and healthcare technology executive. He's now the chief AI officer at Lulav Technology Partners. It's a company that empowers healthcare AI startups. We'll explore that further as we speak more. He's spent years operating at the intersection of large health systems, enterprise architecture, and real-world AI deployment. Today, he advises healthcare startups and investors on how to become truly AI native, not just AI branded, so they can scale, secure funding, and avoid expensive illusions. Nick brings a rare mix of technical fluency, strategic clarity, and straight talk about what actually works when AI meets leadership. Welcome to the program, Nick Yaitsky.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you, to talk to your group about what it is that AI really brings to the ecosystem, how the world has changed in the past few years, how things have really evolved, and where we're going from there. Very
Nick,
excited to
the
be here.
the world really has changed a lot, and AI is the buzz. Like you can't avoid AI, right? So it's here. We're using it. We're using it whether we know it or not. You've been using it deliberately for some time, and you've blended that with the ability for healthcare startups and even those seeking healthcare to kind of have easier access because it runs behind the scenes. Talk a little bit about what you're doing, and then what I'd love to do is to wind back the clock a little bit to find out how you got here, because I think it's that journey that's kind of interesting. It's the human journey and the leadership journey. So, what is it like specifically that you're doing these days, and what was the journey to get here?
Absolutely. So fundamentally, I hope that we all realize that this concept of AI has actually been around for a long, long time, right? It's not just snap and bam, everything just appeared and AI out of nowhere just here. The concepts, the fundamentals of what we're talking about have been here for decades. But in the last few years, technology caught up, some algorithms caught up, the actual scale and ability to really do these kinds of things at scale have really evolved so rapidly, so dramatically. And so now they are accessible to everyone. But fundamentally, the concepts behind it have been around. And that's really what I've been pursuing for the vast majority of my career is how do we use these automations or AI-centric or AI-styled enablements to improve the user experience or the patient experience. I've spent a long time in the healthcare sector, health and wellness especially, really building these dynamic programs, these methods, these flows for patients to connect better with their providers, to really better take care of themselves, to really be more knowledgeable about their personal health, their personal well-being, how to live a healthier life, a better life. And these past few years, the AI revolution has taken hold and really driven what those engagement platforms really are. Is, that evolution of AI is making it much more flexible, much more personal, much more in touch with all the data that surrounds you, not just a piece of it, not just curated content. And so that's really what I focus on is, especially in the healthcare sector, those companies, those initiatives, those products that are trying to make a patient's life better, a patient's experience better. And so one
Can
of
I
the things
pause
that
you for a second? Because I love this. I want to know more about how to make a patient's life better, because at some point we're all patients. But you said something that sort of most people don't think about, and I'm not sure I even thought about it this way. What you said was AI helps make things more personal. And we just we're seeing things like robots are coming and all that other happy stuff. Um, we all know that AI runs in the background. We
Mhm.
all know, like, AI is there. It sorts, it sifts, it gives us information really quickly. The statement that AI helps make things more personal, I really want you to unfold for us. Please, just like bring it out.
Absolutely. So think about what personalization really is. So there is uh, a connection with the finer points of the things that impact you the most. And there's an understanding of what something is, how can I phrase this? Um, if you're looking at the way that you eat, what you eat, your background, your genetics, your lifestyle, your habits, they all play a part in it. And so if I'm talking to a human coach and I work with a human coach and they give me a generic program for what I should eat day to day, it will be just that, generic, because there's no way that a human can actively look at all of my background qualities, all of my background characteristics, and give me a prescriptive, hyper-personalized uh, dietary plan. But with AI innovations these days, with the way we're able to crunch the numbers more efficiently and effectively, we're able to look at all the background information that's available and be able to hyper personalize that kind of approach to you. So there's two different focal points here. One is the personalization, which is giving you very concrete, very exact things that are exactly for you and no one else. And then there is the human component of it. AI is not the human touch, right? I think we all realize that. When you call a call center and an AI picks up, yeah, it pretends it's human. It's not human. I think we all realize that. But it can be very personalized. It can answer with your name. It can talk about your information, your background, your details. So it can hyper personalize, even if it's not a human perspective.
I love that. And I think this is the first time I've heard the term hyper personalized. It's an incredible concept because we think about, oh, all my data, where's my data going? Who has my data? And basically it's out there, right? I mean, it's
That's
out there.
right.
So it's like, well, privacy, that went as soon as you signed up for the online social program platforms, right? So no more privacy. Um, but then we start using other programs and we input our health into our phones or upload, whatever we're eating or how we're exercising, and we've uploaded all that. So it exists. And you're saying now that can be scraped, that can be accessed, that can be used. Um, and what you're saying, all of that, it could be used for the good, which I love because it's happening anyway. And so the fact that it could be used for the good is great. It's really great. I did an interview not that long ago with a CISO, right? A chief information security officer. And he was like, yeah, your security, your information's out there. And so the world is there. And now it's up to you and your company to secure the pieces that you don't want access to, but or don't want others to have access to. But we're sharing things. And what you're saying is, Lulove, your company, among others, can access, if you want it to, and make a program that um, it sounds like it sits on top of, or actually the human element sits on top of that. So you've got a human using the data.
So let me answer the first question that you kind of posed implicitly about privacy. And that is, I don't believe that privacy is dead. I don't think of it that way. I do agree with you wholeheartedly that your data is out there. Once you upload any data online to any service, it's out there, right? Someone or some system has some amount of access to your data. The key is making sure that your data is not used maliciously against you, to make sure that data is there for your benefit or for general community benefit, not for attacking you or hacking you or stealing from you, right? That's, I think, the fundamental key here behind privacy in the modern age of a digital connected ecosystem. And so, whether or not I have access to your data specifically, that's not the question. Because what we do at Lulav really is we work with founders, we work with startups, we work with even medium to large companies as well with using their data, the data they have access to. What it is that they are actively working with and using. And are they creating pathways that are prescriptive and curated that are manually managed, or are they creating pathways that are dynamic, that can pick up on new data, pick up on changes, and automatically, without too many hands in the mix, be able to react and be able to create that, what I refer to as hyper-personalization, or really AI-enabled automation process to increase the speed to market, to increase the quality of deliverables, to increase the adoption rates of your consumers. So if your users are picking up on a product that you're delivering, but it takes you 6 months to get it out the door, can we make that 3 months? Can we make that 2 months? 1 month? Can we make it a week? Right? Can we use the tools that are available to us to make it that much more effective? And can we make that process and concept be part of your company's culture and DNA as opposed to an afterthought?
I love all of this. As you're talking, it's can we shorten the time, right? From six
Right.
months to 3 months to 2 months, 1 month, even a week. And I was just I'm smiling to myself, recalling when computers first came on the scene, computers, right? And then we had the internet and there was dial-up. And so it's like, will it connect? Bzz, I don't know. So it's really great. We're now in an age where we get immediate information.
Mhm.
And it's kind of incredible because the information's there. And versus uh, I always laugh to myself in my day, right? We'd go to the library, we'd look things up, we'd request things. I saw this article on a microfiche, and now I would love to get it sent to me from the Library of Congress. Do you think that could happen? Or this journal article from this hospital halfway around the world. I wonder if I could get them to give me a reprint. Um, it's instant. Everything is instant. What and that's not a bad that's amazing, right? That's amazing. What rather who are your target companies when you say you work with companies to help them do this stuff? Who are you actually working with? I'm yeah, not clear about who accesses you
Yeah.
and how you get started with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of think of companies these days in three different categories. And obviously, there's a thousand ways to segment the different groups. But companies that are producing AI models, producing AI solutions, there are companies that are producing tooling for AI solutions. And then there are companies who are using AI in the background to deliver a non-AI offering. And so, to give you examples, companies that are producing AI models are looking at, for example, in the healthcare sector, they're looking at radiology, they're creating models that look at X-rays or CT scans and identify findings within those and produce those findings. Fantastic use cases. There are companies that are producing tools for managing your AI models, securing AI models, and managing the flows. And I'm working with a few companies in that space. And then the vast majority of companies are using those products, those tools, behind the scenes to then deliver perhaps a modality of care. I was talking with this specialty services company, and I'm not going to mention a specific name there, but they were offering a specialty service for neurology. And they were looking at, we've got these workflows, these pathways, these abilities to do these things. And a lot of what they were doing were very manual processes. They had all these tools available to them and they just weren't using them. They weren't thinking about how to use them. They were very focused on, I've got to have this manual flow to do X, Y, and Z. And in the modern day and age, there are so many better ways of doing this, so many faster ways of doing this to really get to your patients more directly. And so those are really the majority of the companies that I'm focusing on really is they have a idea or they have a purpose they're trying to meet and they don't know how to make AI the the engine that gets them to that delivery point. They're not necessarily the engineers. They're not necessarily the ones that are understanding the intricacy of the individual AI models. They don't have to, but they are delivering care. They are delivering services. They're delivering capabilities. And how can they make those deliveries much more effective?
That's great. That was well said. Let me ask you, as a lot of One Sharp Sword as a podcast, I focus on leaders' journey and I focus on leadership lessons along the way. What do you think leaders in general need to understand so that they don't manage yesterday's organization with tomorrow's tools? How do you bring an organization in general up to speed? What affects the culture? What are the considerations? I mean, and this then speaks to your journey as well, because you didn't start as, the chief AI officer. So talk a little bit about your journey and talk a little bit about what do leaders need to understand in terms of cultural impact in the organization.
Absolutely. I think that the two key ideas that I want people to think about as leaders is number one is fail fast, fail often. And that's
Hmm.
okay. Just fundamentally, it is okay to fail as long as you can recover fast. And then the second part is in specific regard to AI, if you have a broken process in your organization, simply slapping AI on top of it is not going to solve your process. It might mask it, it might hide it, it might make it a little bit better, but it won't solve it. And so fundamentally, you need to think about the internals of your process, of your organization, and change that culture in order to solve the problem itself, as opposed to just simply masking it with the AI solutions. So let me backtrack into that a little bit for you. And that is, my journey really began in the engineering space itself. I studied computer science back in college. I ended up going back for a master's to really focus on more advanced concepts there. But fundamentally, I'm an engineer by training. My background is technology. I think very analytically. I'm very much that kind of person. Don't ask me to draw you a pretty picture. You will not appreciate that picture. I guarantee it. Maybe a stick figure. Um, but
Well, we could get a flow chart.
there you go. I can make a diagram. I
Yeah.
can I can show you the process. I can show you the flow.
So
Um,
what kind of engineering?
Computer science,
Okay. All right.
and so my focus really has been using that technology, that enablement to really connect dots to the human side of it. And so as I started to progress in my career journey, I started to take on more leadership roles, really volunteer for those ideas, those concepts to drive that change. Because my mindset has always been, it's not just about can I write some pretty code over here? It's about what can that do for the organization and for the people themselves? How can I really impact the end user in the right way? And how can I make that change scale? So my personal leadership journey has really been that growing within that space to impact more users, more people in a human way that goes beyond just, well, I've got a pretty web page here.
I love that. Um, where have things gone badly? Like just in terms of AI and then personally, like you talk about fail fast, fail often,
Yeah,
but also recover fast. I did a blog post at one point. It's like teaching people to fail fast is the wrong message. And then the blog went on to say it's the right message if you're saying learn fast,
that's
right?
right.
Because so many leaders are like fail fast. And I would never tell somebody go out and fail. I would tell somebody go out and learn, right? And and so it's not really a failure if you're learning. It's a
That's right.
failure if you do the same thing twice or three times and you haven't learned. That's a failure. And I'm not going to ever advise somebody to go out and do that, right? So go out and FAFO. It's like go find out. Like go mess around and find out and get the lesson and grow from it, right? So
I
what
love the way that you phrase that. You have to grow from it and learn from it.
yeah,
I will say also there are some situations where you cannot afford to fail and you cannot fail fundamentally, right? If you're a
right,
physician doing surgery, you can't fail. That's not allowed.
right.
That's not appropriate, period.
Yeah,
So it doesn't apply in every situation, but when you're developing new products, when you're developing new ideas, you absolutely should be able to fail fast. And what I mean by that is you're taking away the fear of
yes,
investing some into this idea, trying it out, playing around with it, realizing when it's going the wrong direction, stopping that, and going a different direction. And then when that doesn't work, you go a different direction yet again.
right.
Too many folks, especially in more established organizations, will spend all this time on a project plan, a business case, investment in this, and they get to a point where they feel if I don't keep going, then I'm a failure and I just can't do anything right, and I
Mm,
can't afford to fail. When the reality there is that if they don't fail that project and change direction, that project is never going to see the light of day, no matter how much they invest
exactly.
into it. And
Exactly.
people have this fallacy of sunk costs, right? You spent so much, you've got to keep going. You have to get past that. You have to realize that sometimes you have to cut that loss, accept it, learn what you did wrong, find an alternative solution, find a better solution, find the right solution, and move forward in that direction instead of continuing to spend money where you usually realize pretty early on it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. I've made some notes I want to refer to. So if you, yeah, you'll see me looking down at my notes. Um, I love take away the fear. I think that, in terms of fail fast, if you go into a situation knowing that it's a learning for you, it's an education for you, you have an outcome in mind, right? So when I consult with organizations, I'm asking them what outcome are they after? And it's sort of like setting a destination in your GPS. We're going to drive toward that thing. And
Mhm.
we believe, based on current data, this is the best way to go. And occasionally we come to a road closure that wasn't part of the data set. So now we have to pivot.
You know you are bigger than the life you are leading. It really is time to attend to that thing you've wanted to do or have, but you've been putting off. It's time to step into that dream you've parked for someday. It's time to claim true well-being, both personally and professionally, without giving up the success that got you here. It's time to check out Dr. Pernell's signature small group retreat, the Exponential Success Summit. Explore exponentialsuccesssummit.com. Seats are extremely limited as this is a very special small group event. www.exponentialsuccesssummit.com.
So I'm a big fan of pivot and agility. Like your ability to pivot is huge. And then there's this psychological piece, which is you called it sunk cost. We put all this money into it. Um, it is sunk cost when you walk away from that money. It's it is investment if you learn from that. And so for me, what people face is what's called the gambler's dilemma. And I don't know if you've heard it called that. There's a psychological term called the gambler's dilemma. People at the gambling table, well, I've put in this much and my hand is okay, but it's not great, but everybody else's hand is okay. Maybe mine's better. And then they go back to, but I've put in this much. Even if you're playing by yourself, I've put this much into a slot machine. Today has to pay off. And I'm going to keep going. The gambler's dilemma is at what point do you decide that you've put in enough and that you can walk away or pivot and take your winnings or your losses and put that toward something else? That's the big pivot. That's where agility comes in. So, bringing it back to you, your ability to capture data and then it's like, again, using the GPS analogy, you know where you're starting, you know what your outcome is, and you are on this path. Maybe the road's closed. Maybe there was a landslide. Maybe, and in business, maybe it's a logistics issue. Maybe something you expected didn't come through. Awesome. What are you going to do next? Right?
Right. And I think that's absolutely beautifully put. Um, Too many people will have that feeling of I have to get this one right because everything rides on it. But they continue to put money into it and they realize that they're in too deep.
Mhm.
You gotta get ahead of that. You can't be an addict to that specific thing, right? That gambling concept, it's that fear that's really driving us. Fear of failure. Fear that, well, if I admit that I failed, I've got a problem. That goes to an earlier question you had really about leadership in general
Yeah.
is what is fear and how does that impact us in leadership? As we lead organizations, we lead people, we lead direction, we lead our customers, we lead what it is that we're doing. And everyone experiences fear. Everyone's afraid of failing at something or other. It's a question of what do you do in the face of that fear? Do you simply succumb to it and don't tell anybody about it? Or do you realize that, yeah, okay, I'm afraid I'm not going to succeed with this. Okay, what's the what's the cost if I push harder on it as opposed to I pivot and I go somewhere else? How do I realize that fear, bottle it here, put it off to the side, and keep moving in the direction that needs to be
Great.
pursued?
I have a kind of the way I conceptualize fear is that we all do experience it. It's there as an alert system. It's not there to shut you down. It's there to go like waving flags, going, "Hey,
That's right.
you might want to pay attention to this." And then you choose and to go, "Oh, no, I'm actually familiar with that." I do a lot of work with individuals around their personal and professional growth. When you change who you were, when you step into a bigger role, when you declare that you want more for yourself, your subconscious goes, this isn't safe. It's not known. And it's like, that's right. It's not known. And then it's up to you to go, it's not known. And it is safe because that's called growth. And so the fear is there to go, hey, you might want to pay attention to this. And you get to go, that's good. Right. I'm paying
That's right.
attention. And I choose, right, to go in a certain direction or not. It's
That's
great.
right. And just on a personal touch, I am actually a very, very far introvert. And so even a conversation like this puts an amount of fear in me personally. And it becomes one of these things where you have to get over it. You have to move past it. You have to realize that it's
Mm.
there, but still do it because it's the right move forward. It's the right advancements, the right growth. It's the right mindset to have, is to have these conversations, even when it's not your comfort zone, even if it's not your natural state.
Yes. Oh, really good. And Nick, again, then thank you especially for being here when you're stretching out of your comfort zone. There's a quiz I give groups sometimes, and it's like, do you know what happens when you don't move out of your comfort zone? And the answer is absolutely nothing. Right? Nothing.
That's right.
Right?
You stagnate, you get stuck. You get stuck in the mud and you sink.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so important to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's, that bringing it back to your work and your path, it's like that's what you've been doing. You're, in some ways pioneering new paths where people can make connections. You're setting up bridges of AI for human use,
Hmm.
and you're making healthcare ultimately more accessible by doing that. What what are some of the big leadership lessons that you've learned along the way, in addition to, feel the fear and doing it anyway, which is sort of, we haven't said it that way, but that is what we're saying. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Know when to pivot, and the only way you'll know is by getting feedback and making use of that feedback along the way. What else has come up for you? You didn't start in, I mean, you started in computer science and engineering. You got into AI, and then you got into AI leadership. What have been some of the shifts that you've had to make
Hmm.
in going from I'm learning this field to now I'm leading this field?
Absolutely. I think fundamentally, when it comes to leadership and non-leadership roles, you can't be afraid of learning new things. Fundamentally, you cannot be afraid of learning and changing and evolving and moving along with how things around you are changing. If you are working on a specific technology or a specific business, and that's all you know and that's all you do, and you're refusing to learn a new technology, you've got a problem. When I was going through school, um, the school that I went to, I went to Georgia Tech, and one of the fundamental concepts behind the software program was we're not going to teach you software languages. We're not going to teach you how to code in this specific language. We're going to teach you these concepts, and you better come knowing that language already. And so it kind of instilled this concept of, yeah, you can learn and pick up any language that comes up because these languages move along and change all the time. And so AI and technologies behind AI and the algorithms there, they change all the time. New ones come up all the time. You have to be able to pivot and realize I'm used to doing it this way. Now I'm going to do it this way, and that's okay. And instilling that concept in your team, if you're the leader of a team, small team, large team, doesn't matter. But instilling that concept of you're doing a job, you are hired for a specific job, great, times are changing. The times might change every decade, every 5 years, every 1 year, every month, every day sometimes. And you have to adapt with it. You have to learn, you have to figure out how to accept the things that are new and different that make you feel kind of shaky sometimes, but still realize that you don't have a choice. You have to learn and accept it and put that fear aside to move forward with it.
It's awesome. That's perfect. Learning, there are a lot of organizations that I work with where on occasion they will go against their stated values. It's rare and it happens. And here's how it happens. We're a learning organization. We value learning, but we can't do that because we've always done it this way. Right? We've always done
Yes.
things this way. And it's like, well, we've always done things this way, but we did things this way when the world was in a different place. The world has changed, and now it's time to do things a different way. The other thing that happens is we're a learning organization, but we can't give funds toward learning or teaching or bringing our team members up because we're using those funds over here. And it's like, well, your team members are the ones that are running this project, so don't they need to really know how to do this thing? So I'm bringing this up because it's a point of frustration for me when I work with leadership teams, and they're like, "Yeah, they just need to do their jobs." It's like, "Yeah, what tools are you giving them?" As a leader, your job is to reduce the friction for your team members to do their jobs, and to do that, they need to learn a little bit more. So I love that you said you have to learn and accept new things. Absolutely right. That influences culture and it comes from the top down.
Hmm.
And so, if you've got a leader that's sort of afraid to do new things, and I've worked with organizations there too, where the organization's like, let's go. The world is changing, and the leader's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure. It's time for a serious leadership conversation with that person. So, and I've had them. Um, there are other times when the leader is so far out and thinking so big, that communication becomes an issue. That it's like, this is where we're going, and it's like, well, no one can see what you're seeing. Do you want to tell us what that looks like? Not just what it looks like from your vantage point, but what leaps did you make to get there? So,
And
um,
I completely
yeah,
agree with you. I always say, your values are just words on paper if you don't live them. You have to
awesome.
actively pursue them. You have to actively, align with them and move forward with them. Your example of if you're a learning organization and you don't invest into learning, you are not a learning organization, and you have to accept it. You know,
Exactly right.
if you are, I mean, let's be real, right? If you are leading an organization and your organization has a certain goal to meet, you're going to focus on meeting that goal.
Yeah,
If you have a set of values that you are truly believing in, truly driving, you can't throw them out the window to meet that goal. Are you going to move resources around and focus more heavily on one thing or another? Yeah, sure. You might adjust and, gear more towards this area or that area to meet a deadline. I get it. That's fine. But you can't throw everything out the window and say, well, we're just not going to do any of that, even though we think we believe it. No, if you believe it and you do it. The way you believe these things is by doing them and by putting the right focus in those areas. You don't have to live every single one of your values every single minute of every single day, but you can't throw them out the window when things get tough.
I love that. What I'm going to paraphrase what you just said, which is demonstrate your values, demonstrate what you believe by living them.
That's right.
And I have a saying that I picked up along the way, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you let certain things slide, you're actually showing untrustworthiness, right? Like, I believe in this, except here. And it's like now you have a leak in your bucket, right? And
Right.
it's so, yeah, you've got to live it. You've got to live it. You've got to show it. Nick, we're coming to the end of our time together. What were you hoping I'd ask you? What kind of last things did you want to share? And I know you have a way that people can contact you. So do you want to say a few last things and talk about how people can reach you?
Absolutely. Fundamentally, I would say that if you're coming across situations in your travels, in your work, and you're seeing that, there's a process, there's a company, there's a product, there's an initiative, there's a team that are really struggling with these ideas of evolving their technology skills, their approach to these things, and you just don't know how to help them, how to work with them. I'm very happy to partner with folks, even if it's just a conversation, even if it's just, throwing some ideas around, to figure out what can be done in this situation. A lot of my engagements are literally that, we'll get on a call or we'll grab some lunch and we'll talk about how can this be done better or what are some of the problems, what am I not thinking about, and really kind of approach it from that standpoint. That's kind of the fundamental starting place for any of these things. Eh, Fundamentally, if you're trying to change a culture, you can't simply say we're going to throw everything away and start a culture from zero. That doesn't happen, right? When
No.
you have a group, you have a group, and you have
Even during
involved.
mergers, right? It's like
Right.
we're going to build a culture. It's like you have a culture. Now it's a matter of like implementing and demonstrating what culture you actually want to create based on what you have.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I would encourage anyone listening to this to really think about what they're doing in their day-to-day lives, whether it's at home or at work, and they're seeing that things aren't working, and they're seeing that things need to change, things need to evolve. It's not change for the sake of change. It's because it's not working, or it's not the right way of doing something, or it doesn't quite align with your actual true values that you do truly focus on, that you really do truly believe in. Um, and you're seeing that needs to change. Think about how to make it changed. Whether it's technology or not technology, doesn't matter, right? It's all of the above. How can you get on the right path again? How can you realize that I've done this way so many times, so often. Maybe it's not the right way of doing it. How can I personally evolve? And how can I drive that change, be that change agent to really
This
drive in
is
the right direction?
this is key, and I'm glad you said that. That a lot of times people know what they, well, all the time we know what we know. We know
Hmm.
what we know, and we have a bias toward looking at what we know so that we have a truth. It's like,
Hmm.
see, there it is again. When you come up against what I'm doing is not working, you need to be brave enough to
Hmm.
say, maybe there's a different way.
That's right.
And most people will try harder, and trying harder only hurts. It's like it could be easy if you step back enough to get in perspective. And so I'd say, if what you're doing isn't working, resources are out there. And that, brings us back to you. And, Nick, you've been so generous, I think, offering yourself for a conversation, maybe a partnership, depending on what's needed. If people want to bounce things off you, I think that's great. I think that's, you've got a very beautiful perspective on AI and tech and the integration, and especially integration with healthcare systems. So let's talk about how people can reach you.
Absolutely. So I can share this with you.
Cool.
Um, to reach out to me directly, I'm always on LinkedIn. By all means, feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn.
You have to spell your last name.
That's right. Use my last name as the fastest and easiest way to get to me. There are very few Yaitskys on LinkedIn. Or you can simply scan that QR code or go to lulav.ai and shoot me a note. Uh,
Cool.
we would be thrilled to talk with you, thrilled to connect with you and bounce ideas around, see if there's something to move forward with, or if we can just simply give you some guidance and give you some advice.
This is great. All right. So it's Nick Yaitsky, Yaitsky.
That's right.
And that's how you'll find him on LinkedIn, Nick Yaitsky, Yaitsky. Also, Nick at Lulav, Lulav.ai. So as you're listening to this, or if you're able to watch this, beautiful. If as you're listening to it, Nick at Lulav, Lulav.ai. All righty. Bring that down, stop your share, and we can wind it up this way. There you go. There's your beautiful face again. Excellent. Nick, thank you. This was really great. Nick Yaitsky has been my guest. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely, Wayne. It's been fantastic. I really appreciate you putting this together and your podcast series as a whole. So thank you so much for having me as a guest. And I hope I've
Um,
been somewhat helpful, at least a little bit.
it's been a pleasure, Nick, really. I think, we've spoken a couple of times, and every time we talk, I learn more and get to know you even better. So I always appreciate that. That's great.
Thanks
All
so
righty.
much.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. This is One Sharp Sword, cutting through to what matters most. I'm your host, your guide, and your coach on this journey, Dr. P, Dr. Wayne Pernell. Please tune in again next time. If you like this, please like it and share it. And we'll see you here next time. Thank you.